Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'm just going to go ahead and be talking about fixing mistakes in your sketchbook. As you can see, I really fucked up the face for this drawing of my mafia couple. Yeah, the girl's face just really didn't come out the way I was planning. So the way that I decided to fix it was I just took a piece of paper and I just drew a new face over it and I'm just going to tape it in. When it comes to fixing mistakes in your sketchbook, usually I just don't do that just because I'm like, oh, whatever, it's just my sketchbook. But I just feel like the face is really egregious this time. And so I just went ahead and I had to make a whole new one. Usually I just stick a sticky note over it, but this time I could not do that just because it would like having us a whole green ass face over the rest of the coloring that I was planning on doing was not going to work out. So basically all I did was just line up the drawing that I was going to do on a separate piece of paper. I just had some printer paper lying around that I just grabbed. That's the paper that I usually use for my cute girl trouble drawings. If you've been on my channel, I just bought that paper because it was supposed to be like cardstock. I already got into this prior about how I feel about that paper. And it is a different tone than the paper I'm currently working on. It's a little bit more yellow. I think you'll see that when I get to the end of the coloring and when the face is actually pasted on there. So I didn't really mind that the color was a little bit different though, because this is just a drawing in my sketchbook. So to get into how much I think you should actually be fixing in your sketchbook, and if I was like, oh, this is just a sketchbook drawing, so it doesn't really matter if it's good or bad or if it's kind of a little bit ugly or a little bit haphazard. If I feel that way, why did I just go ahead and cover up the ugly face in the first place, right? It's a little counterintuitive, right? So for a really long time, I have been against putting sticky notes in my sketchbook or, covering things up. I just felt like for a really long time, I didn't like the way that it looked. I didn't mind it in other people's sketchbooks. I felt like people could do a really good job cutting, pasting, and doing things like that and making it look really nice. I've just never had felt the need to do that myself. And so for a really long time, I was against it. And really, the best thing I ever did in terms of my artistic journey is learning to be okay when things are ugly and moving past them, right? So prior to this sketchbook and maybe a couple years ago, I would have seen that I messed up her face and I would have probably cried and been like, "Ugh, it's ruined. And what am I supposed to do now? This is all so awful." Just because for a really long time I just wanted my sketchbooks to be the most beautiful that they could be. There's nothing wrong with having sketchbooks like that. I have a sketchbook that is dedicated just to finished drawings, just to be nice to look at. But I feel like the goal of your sketchbook, if it's like a true sketchbook, not to say that those finished pieces are not true sketchbooks, but like the heart of improvement, right, is to get things wrong and to learn from your mistakes, I feel like. So instead of dwelling on those mistakes, for which I did for a really long time, as soon as I started buying sticky notes and being okay with just covering up drawings that I didn't like, because before I would just let them sit and wallow, right? Like I would look at them and I'd be like, this is so ugly. And I would get upset, right? And so now I'm just like, oh, that's ugly. I'll just cover it up. So it's kind of like, what's it called? Out of sight, out of mind, which is like, that's not great, whatever. But it's like, it's for me. My sketchbook is not really for anybody else. I don't have any problems sharing it with other people. But if I want to cover up mistakes I made because it makes me feel better about my art, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think one of the other best things I ever learned about my own art was that if I mess up the drawing, I could just try again. For a long time, instead of when I would mess things up, I would be like, whatever, it's messed up. I'm done. And I would move on to something else. But now, since I'm okay with covering out mistakes, I go, well, I messed that up. Time to try again. And I really think that trying over and over again until you get something right is like one of the best moves you could do. Because it's one thing if you just draw something one time and you're like, well, I fucked it up. I'm not going to do it again, right? But then you don't learn anything, right? You have to examine your mistakes so that way you can learn from them. Like with this face, oh gosh, this face. I mean, it's honestly, it's not that bad. It's just, it's, yeah, it is that bad. Sorry. I tried to spin it in a positive way, but I can't. Okay, I really just don't like it. Her jaw is really off. Her mouth is too low. Like, there are lots of things I could point out. Her eyes are weird. I don't know why I colored her eyes in. I didn't mean to. I think I just got swept up in the inking. It's whenever I do the inking, I just get all punchy, I guess. I try to do things a little bit too much, and so I get carried away. So her face just didn't work out, and I didn't like the way her hair was. And so I was like, well, that sucked. Let's try again. And I think that's really what you should try to do with your art, because if you draw something over and over and over again, you're going to get it eventually. You might be like, this is not working. This is not working for me. I keep messing it up. It keeps looking ugly. It's just that you got to shake all those ugly drawings out of your hand, right? You just got to get them out, because if you don't get them out, you can never get to like the good drawings. Sorry, this is not like a step by step of how I fixed this drawing. I'm not entirely satisfied with the new face either, but it's significantly better than the old one. And like I said, this is just a sketchbook drawing. So there is like a threshold for how much like ugliness, I guess, I'm willing to accept in my art. Like there's one thing, if it's a drawing that is made to look ugly, there's nothing wrong with being ugly or having your art be quote unquote ugly, but I just wasn't going for it's different if it's intentional. You know what I mean? If something is intentionally ugly, good, great. If you're making something ugly just because you fucked it up, that's something I'm just like, I don't want to look at something I fucked up. Like if I made her ugly on purpose, I'd be like, yes, this is awesome, right? But I didn't make her ugly on purpose, so I had to fix it. So basically, the drawing was just at a threshold in which I was not able to accept a mistake. Like there's a certain amount of mistakes that I will accept in my art, like in my sketchbook. Like you guys seen me do little doodle drawings before, right? If it comes out bad, I'm like, whatever, next drawing. But this was supposed to be like a little tiny mini colored piece. Like I had sketched this out in pencil prior. And so I was like, it's gonna look so nice. I'm gonna color it. It's gonna be great. But then I messed up her face and I was like, oh no, this is kind of ruining the whole vibe. So I was like, I gotta do it again. And that's okay. I don't mind doing things again. And I think also other people should not mind doing things again, because repetition is how you learn. I know I'm repeating myself, but that's how you learn. So, do I think that you should fix mistakes in your sketchbook? Sure, if that's what you want to do. If not, you can just rip it out and throw it away. I know lots of people like to do that. My only advice against doing that is ripping it out and throwing it away is that you don't really have those bad drawings to look back on when you get better. And so if you only keep the good ones, I mean, you're gonna even improve from the good ones, but I like to look back on the bad ones and be like, wow, I'm a lot better than that now. And I wish I wouldn't have thrown stuff away and erased stuff and just so I could have it for posterity. You know what I mean? Prosperity, whatever. I don't know words. Just so I could have it to look back on. Because even if something didn't turn out the way that you liked it in the present, an older you is gonna look back on it fondly. I mean, even if it makes you cringe a little bit. So, in the spirit of redrawing things, I actually redrew this picture. You're probably like, hey, you're redrawing this picture? You're literally coloring it right now. What do you mean you redrew it? Well, basically, before I made this a colored piece, I just took a picture of the sketch and then I took it into Procreate on my iPad and I just redid it. And you guys are seeing this version right now just because wanted you guys to see the difference between my approaches in traditional versus digital. I'm not a digital artist. You will see that when we get to the video where I draw it digitally. I struggle a lot with digital. Traditional is my main medium, but I'm trying to make my digital art look more like my traditional art. So I figured I would just do an experiment kind of where I show you guys the way I do my traditional process and then my digital process. I know this isn't a finished piece. It's just a doodle in my sketchbook, so I just used it as like a template for what I wanted this to look like. I guess I should get into what this drawing is and what it's based on. I haven't talked about the drawing at all. So this is basically just a redraw of the cover of the DVD case for Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie. Literally, I have never seen that movie, but I felt like the vibes fit my mafia couple here. If you haven't been to my channel before, these are a couple of my OCs. They're a mafia couple. That's pretty much all I have to say about them right now. Just that's all you need to know. They're in the mafia or in the gang or something. They still don't have any names. I'm still trying to brainstorm names, so if you guys have any ideas, let me know. So I just did a redraw of that cover, and this is from the original movie in like 2000 or whatever, not the remake that they just let out. Nothing against that remake. I saw the cover art for it though, but it wasn't really the vibe I was going for. And so I think that movie is actually about spies or CIA agents. I don't know. I just felt like the vibe fit. So I just drew them in that pose and with the outfits on. I know this is another redraw from me. You guys are probably sick of redraws, and I swear one day I will draw something original for you guys. I guess I have. I drew comics and stuff. So one day I will draw a finished, original, actually finished drawing so that way you guys can get an idea of what my style is a little bit more. Something like a little cutesy little one-off drawing. I keep telling you that my coloring style is usually really colorful, and then I keep drawing things in black and white, and then this one where literally it's just a skin tone and then their outfits are black. I swear I like to use colors. I promise. I'm gonna next week. Let's do it next week. I'll do a colorful piece for you guys so you can actually see what my art style typically looks like. I mean, all of these drawings are my art style, but when I make more finished pieces, they tend to be a bit more colorful. So next week, hopefully, I'll be able to use colors. The only thing is, a lot of my markers are dead, and so I have to go through and look through all of them and refill them and clean them up and switch out the nibs that are messed up. So it actually takes me a long time to do that, and I'm like trying to push it away. Would you guys like to see a video of me cleaning and servicing my markers? I think that I've seen videos of people like doing that with their gouache. And so, but they usually do it quietly, like they're not talking. And I feel like I would have to talk during the video. But I guess I could do that just so I could explain it to you guys how to service your markers, how to make sure that they're going well, and what to look for if you need to like switch out the nibs and stuff. So maybe I will do a video about that. I just don't know when that would come out because it seems like a really big hassle and it would be really long because I have a lot of markers that are in dire need of service. Like you even saw with this one, I pulled away for a while just because that marker was empty and I had to fill it, and I got the ink literally all over my hands. So if you see black stuff on my fingers, that's what that is I spilled ink all over myself. And you can get alcohol marker ink off of things with rubbing alcohol. It'll come right off. It's just a little bit harder with skin. And I was like, whatever, it's just my skin. It'll come off eventually. Thankfully, alcohol markers and alcohol marker ink is not one of those mediums where if you get it on your skin, you're like gonna die or whatever. I mean, you could get sick if you drank it, but I mean, people drink alcohol all the time. I mean, people don't drink rubbing alcohol. At least I hope not, but you probably won't die from it. I mean, don't drink it, obviously. But if it gets on your skin, it's not really anything to worry about. At least I don't think it is. I think I have to look that up because if I'm like getting poisoned slowly, I should know that, but I don't think that it is. Anyway, I feel like the coloring for this one went a little bit better than the one I did for that drawing. You can kind of see at the top. I do have a video of that on my channel if you're interested in seeing the coloring for that one. I think it went a little bit better just because I think because I had the reference I was working off of, their clothes came out a little bit better shaded than they usually would. Don't get too attached to the coloring of their skin though. I was just trying out colors to see if I like them, and I really don't think that I do. So I'm going to be looking for different skin tones for them. I feel like I wanted her to be a slightly tan, so that way it looked like she was like going out in the sun and like, doing her exercises because she is like she's not sporty, but she's make sure that she's in shape and stuff. But I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit too orange for what I was going for. And then when you see when I color him, he is like too pale and his hair is too blonde. I wanted them when I'm picturing them in my head, they both have brown hair, and I'm like, that's not interesting. That's kind of like weird. No. And so I had to think of it something different. I'm okay with keeping her hair brown, and but I don't think that I like the way that his hair turned out as a blonde. I think I might make his hair black, and you're gonna just see how I do that when I get to the coloring of the digital piece. I'll pick more colors that I like just because digitally I can try out as many colors as I want. It's like one that I feel like fits. So yeah, I also felt like the coloring went a little bit better because I actually planned out the colors I was going to use a little bit. You could kind of see it in the corner of the drawing. You see like a little swatches right there. That's because I was testing out the colors and seeing how they would go together, which is what if you want your colors to come out in a good way, you should test them out. This is some advice I'm giving you guys. I've made this mistake before where I don't test things out and it comes out really bad. So test out your colors, even if it's little tiny swatches on the same page. I mean, usually I don't do swatches on the same page just because I'm like, they're supposed to be a finished drawing, so I don't want the swatches to be on the same page, but this is just a drawing in my sketchbook, so I don't care. And then I drew that shoe. That shoe did not come out good, but I did not care enough about the shoe to redraw it or cover it. It was it was passable. And I didn't even sketch that shoe out with a pencil. I just went in straight with pen. That's why the lines are so shaky. So sorry if you don't like chicken scratch. I don't think that I do chicken scratch. I know this is like a big thing in the artist community of like, no, you shouldn't do chicken scratch. It's bad, yada 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 yada. But like, whatever, let people do what they want. They're like, it hurts your wrist. Okay, that's fine. Don't hurt your wrist, but don't tell people what to do. I feel like I understand. Like you're like trying to help people, but there's like it's like they're drawing, dude. It's not like they're like killing themselves. I mean, yeah, it'll be bad for the wrist, and you could tell them like the things, but if they don't want to listen, they don't want to listen. Like you can't help everybody in like the artist community. It's good that you want to help people, but sometimes it comes off as just like condescending, like you're telling me like I don't know. Yeah, I know. I do it anyway, okay? Not that I want to get into like art commentary or anything. It's just been on my mind a little bit. So we're just going to move past that. Like I never even said it. Now I'm just going to go ahead and put her face over her body so I can color the hair. You might be thinking, why didn't I just go ahead and tape it down if like right after I drew it? The reason is because since I already drew the face in with ink, and if you color with alcohol markers, you'll know that it bleeds through the paper. So I didn't want to paste it down and put the paper right over it and then color with alcohol marker ink over the gel ink, because gel ink tends to bleed and it could soak the alcohol marker through the paper. It'll get the gel ink wet and then it'll soak right through the paper and then it'll bleed onto her face. And I was like, if that happens, I'm actually gonna cry. I mean, I could just draw the face over again, but that's a little bit more of a sunk time versus, if it was just a sketch, it's whatever. But when it's colored, then I would be like, no, and then I would have to do it again. I would do it again because I actually wanted this face to look nice, but it would also be a little bit of a pain in my ass. And so that's why I didn't tape it down initially. I do tape it down once I finish the whole thing. Once I finish her, I do tape her face down and then I move on to him because her face, I'm not going to work on it anymore. So I don't need it to be loose or whatever. We're already halfway through the drawing and I'm still just coloring in the girl. I haven't even moved on to the guy, and I don't even move on to him for another couple of minutes. For some reason, her coloring took like way longer than his did. I think partially it's because she has more skin exposed than he does. His is just literally just his face and his hands, and the rest of his outfit, the rest of him is just his clothes. And so the clothes went by really fast. And so I usually take a lot of time when I draw the skin because I feel like that's my favorite part to color in is the skin. Not necessarily the face or whatever, but I had a lot of fun doing her legs and just her skin in general. Coloring skin is one of my favorite things to do. And so I spent a lot of time on it. And I do spend a lot of time on his face just to get his face right. You can't really see it just because it's so small. So when I'm coloring his face, I'm actually kind of covering it up. So sorry about that. Maybe next time I'll draw a face that's bigger so you can see what I'm doing. But then it was just coloring in his suit. And I remember really fast is because I only use 3 colors for their clothes. In the cover art, you can see that their outfits are just black. But when you draw, you can't, I mean, you can just use black. I could have just used black, but I wanted to put a little bit of shading in there just for me. Like I said, this is just a coloring in my sketchbook, but I wanted it to look nice. So I just used 3 colors. Instead of using cool grays, I know I usually like cool grays. I am a cool gray girly. Personally, I prefer cool grays to warm grays, but I felt like a cool gray would not work with their outfits. I just felt like warm gray would suit like a black suit and dress look a little bit more. So I used warm gray, but I only used 3. I only used warm gray 7, warm gray 8, and warm gray 10. I do have the whole warm gray set, and I also have the whole full gray set in Copics, just because I feel like if you want to be able to make fully finished pieces, you should just get like a gray set, because you don't need if you want to make like really bright and colorful stuff, that's cool, but you do need a lot of markers to do that. But if you want to make fully finished pieces and you're not like worried about coloring, you just want to get like values and stuff, I would just get a gray set. A lot of the markers that I get, if I want to try out a new marker set just to see how they work, I just get a gray set just because I'm like, it's a full range. I can make a full piece with that and I can see how the markers blend together, right? Because if you get like a pack and you're like, I'm going to try out these markers and I'm just going to get the primary set, it's kind of hard to see how they blend together if you're trying to blend like a red, a blue, and green and a yellow together, you know what I mean? So that's a little bit of art advice. If you're gonna try out some new markers and you're like, I don't know if I like markers, just get a cool gray set. Not necessarily a cool gray set, but just get like a gray set because then you have your full range of values and you can see whether or not you like markers. Markers is not really something, if you're not sure you like markers, I would not sink a lot of money into markers initially. Like there are some affordable options. I'm not sure. I think they said that a Hoo is not quite as affordable as it used to be. But yeah, if you're like a kid and you're like, I want to try out markers, and your parents are like, I don't want to spend hundreds of money, hundreds of dollars buying you a marker set, just tell them, hey, can I just get a set of grays for like $30 for Christmas or whatever? And that's like a really good way to like get into markers. You might be like, I want to make things that are colorful, and if you want to do that, that's cool, that's fine. You can find some really really cheap markers that are like 100 for like $30. I just feel like if you're trying to learn markers, I feel like the gray set is a good place to start because like I said, it's a full range of values. You can start to learn blending and you can worry about color later. Plus, if you're getting like a pack of like 100 or whatever for $30, so well, the quality of the markers is going to be a little bit lower. So if you could get some good quality set of grays for like $30, and then you could really like get really good blending and you can even get like brush tips or something, I feel like that's a better investment. If I was going to start out with markers now, that's what I would do. Also, as a side note, I know that I didn't really draw the guns. I know that they're just rectangles. If I'm being honest with you guys, I've literally never drawn a gun in my entire life. I have no idea where to start. When I go ahead and do the finished piece, I do plan on drawing the guns, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do about drawing the guns. I'm like, am I gonna copy and paste something and then just trace over it? Or am I actually gonna like really try to draw guns? Because guns are one of those things where it seems like it's pretty easy to draw. Like it's just a rectangle, right? And then some other stuff added onto it. They are so hard to draw. I've tried to draw guns in the past. I know I just said I'd never drawn a gun in my life. I'm trying to remember if I actually have drawn a gun. I feel like I have just because I remember looking at the shapes and being like, it's way too complicated. So maybe that's what I did. Maybe I was like, I'm gonna draw a gun, and then I decided, no way, I'm gonna draw a gun just because the shapes are actually really complicated. Like you can imply a gun. Like I implied a gun with the guns that they have. Like they're literally just rectangles, so they look sort of like guns, or they take on like the shape of a gun, but I didn't actually draw one. And I'm not gonna color them in either. I was just like, this is just in my sketchbook. It's just a little thing in my sketchbook. I don't need to actually color in the guns. So sorry if that bothers you. If you're like, hey, you finished this whole drawing but you didn't draw the guns, I'm never gonna draw the guns. I'm never gonna color them in. I'm so sorry. I hope that doesn't bother you too much. And you know what I think the problem is that when I draw something new, I'm not visualizing the shapes. I know when you're drawing, if you're trying to draw something, you got to break it down into shapes. I talk about that all the time, you guys, and that is good advice. But when I'm trying to draw something new, I tend to try to draw the outline instead of the individual shapes. It's something I'm really trying to break the habit of because I'm not great at drawing just things from the outline. It's easier for my brain if I break it down into shapes, but I also have trouble breaking things into shapes. So it's easier to draw if you break it into shapes, but I have just trouble with my brain actually seeing them as individual shapes and not just the outline. So I'm trying to practice that more. Hopefully when I redraw this digitally, I'll be able to figure it out though. I'm not gonna lie, it is a little bit scary. Like I said, I've never really drawn a gun before, never anything finished for sure. So, it's good though to try and draw things that scare you. If you just do the same thing over and over again, you're never going to improve. And so I just try to keep that in my mind so that way I could get better, I can improve at things. And also, since this is like a mafia story, I'm going to have to learn how to draw guns if I ever want to actually do it all the way through. And I don't have any plans on actually drawing it or even writing the story out all the way. They've just been in my mind lately, so I've just been drawing them a little bit. But I did think for a second that I was like, maybe I should just do like a one shot. So if you know anything about manga and anime, if a mangaka wants to like they do like a one shot to like test it, and then they put it in like Shonen Jump or whatever, so that they can see if audiences like it. It's kind of like a pilot. So I was thinking like kind of if I wanted to do like a one shot to see if it was something that if there was interest in it, and if it was something that I wanted to do, and also to see if the process was something that I would enjoy and not just like dread it the whole time. So I've been thinking about that. So maybe I will do a one shot, but it would take me like a really long time. And I wouldn't say keep your eyes open for it just because I have a lot of trouble following through on things like with my New Year's resolutions. I've been pretty keeping up pretty well with my artistic New Year's resolutions, but I've not been keeping up well with my writing New Year's resolutions. I was supposed to finish a short story every month. And they were not short stories. It was more like a novella. It was like 40 to 50 pages, which is like a novelette or whatever. So I was gonna do one of those a month, but I did not complete those. It's actually really hard. Like I have all the planning out, but I just lose interest in stories and I just come up with new ideas off the spot all the time. And so if I was like gonna make it a little one shot, I feel like I would lose interest in it like halfway through that I would never finish it. So I would just say don't keep your eyes open for that or you'll be disappointed. Then again, if I was posting my progress on my channel, so maybe people would be interested. They'd be like, keep going. I don't know. I don't really get very many comments on my videos. But that's okay. I don't really mind so much. I would like to talk to you guys, but I know it can be hard to leave comments. I know when I think about leaving comments on people's videos, I get like really anxious. So I don't really mind if people don't leave comments on my videos. I just like that people are watching them in general and leaving me a like. Just to show that you guys like the videos. I mean, I would still probably make the videos even if nobody was watching them, but it actually makes me really happy that you guys can keep me on as just like your little background buddy, and maybe you like to do art with me at the same time. I just think that's so fun and so cute. And I just wanted to say thank you for everybody who watches my videos or leaves me a like or subscribes to the channel. I know I haven't really said anything about it or about how many subscribers I've had or a thank you or anything. I just get really nervous when I think about posting like a community post. I don't know why. I mean, I'm putting myself out there to talk on my videos. I really struggle to speak a lot in real life. I'm very introverted. I think you could probably tell that from my videos that I'm super introverted. But also, I don't really speak unless I'm spoken to. Usually, I'm just off in my own mind. So, actually, putting my thoughts out there into like any sort of space is very different for me. So, I'm just trying to put myself out there a little bit more to connect with people because, like I said, I don't really talk that much. And it's not that I don't like other people. I can get frustrated with other people. Obviously, everybody is like that. Um, but I do really want to speak to people more. It's not that I don't want to speak to people, but I like sharing ideas and I really like hearing other people's ideas. So if you guys have anything you want to tell me about in the comments, I'd be happy to listen and I'm happy to reply to you guys. Like I said, I don't get very many comments in my videos, but I'm like, I really just want to talk to people and it's easier for me to do it over the internet. Than it is in real life because in real life I've been told I have like a very monotone voice and I have trouble so I'm trying to just put myself out there a little bit more. I hope that makes sense. I hope that didn't sound like sad or weird. I promise I'm not sad or too weird, but it's just the me making my YouTube videos is just a way for me to like start conversation. So if you guys want to talk about anything, I'm really here to listen and sometimes speak back. Anyway, enough with that sentimental stuff. We're coming towards the end of the video now. Didn't realize I colored his hair so quick, but I guess it makes sense. I only used 3 colors for his hair. This is, like I said, a quick and dirty sketch in my sketchbook. This colored, so I only use 3 colors. And so when I like to do blonde hair, I don't go for yellows. Not be well, mostly just because your hair is not yellow in real life, and I don't really go for realism in my art. But there's something about yellow blonde hair, like blonde hair that is depicted as yellow that I really don't like. And so for a while I did do it and then I was like, this is gross. I don't like it. No offense to you if your hair is yellow. It's not that I dislike yellow hair. If your hair is yellow, good for you. Go all out. But there's something about blonde as yellow that I don't like. So when I do blonde, I typically do it as like I guess you could say it's kind of more of a platinum blonde. It's not really a sandy or anything, but it's like a really light blonde. Not like white or anything, but it's really light. And so sometimes I even like to shade it with pink just because this is something that I saw somebody do this. I don't know who I saw do it, but sometimes I like to shade blonde with pink. I don't do it in this video just because I wanted to keep it simple. But the specific Copic markers I use to do blonde hair is it's E52, E50 and E51. No, sorry. E53, E50 and E51. E50 and E51 are actually really similar in shade. It's just E51 is just a little bit darker. So you might count it as like a sort of unnecessary step, but I feel like having that transition between E50 and E53 is really good. So I just do the hair the normal way. I put E53 down first because it's the darkest shade, and then I transition it with E51, and then I go to E50 just to round out the color. But like I said, I don't really like that his hair is blonde here. I just don't think he is a blonde. I don't know. I feel like it doesn't fit his personality. And you're probably like, how does hair fit a person's personality? I don't know. It really doesn't have any bearing on anybody's personality in real life. But when you're trying to convey a character, I try to make all of the appearance choices deliberate, just because when you're conveying a character, you're trying to develop just to show their personality at like a just a snap way, right? Just off the bat. And even though it's wrong to like carry preconceptions about people, there are preconceptions about appearance that are connected to like hair color, eye color, the way people look. I'm not saying to like go for stereotypes. Like don't go for stereotypes because we don't want to be like that, you know. But there are certain things that you could do that can help convey a character. And I just feel like blonde hair is really the sort of character I'm trying to convey here. But also, I think that maybe I just don't like blonde hair. I think I only have like one character who has like blonde hair, and she's like supposed to be like really sweet and innocent type character, and that fits into like some sort of stereotype right there. So maybe I have to redesign her, I think. Alrighty, so we've come to the end of the video. I'm just finishing off the highlights here, and then it'll be time to say goodbye. Oh, look, there's even more highlights than I thought there was going to be. I put highlights all over her muscles, and for what? To draw the eye there? Just because muscles are nice? Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for spending this time with me. Bye-bye.